Homeless crisis. Homeless crisis explodes. Florida is collapsing fast. Leave now. Travel documentary. You dreamed of Florida, didn't you? Golden sunsets, ocean breeze, a place to breathe again. Yet a few steps beyond the postcard-perfect scenes, many residents face a harsher reality. Could Florida's dream be turning into a difficult choice for survival? Not from hurricanes, but from rising rents, hunger, and hopelessness. Seniors now sleep in cars. Families camp near luxury condos. Veterans wait in food lines under the same sun that once promised peace. How did it come to this in one of America's wealthiest states? At RoamKind, we follow stories others ignore. If you've ever dreamed of Florida, stay with us. You deserve to see what lies beyond the brochure. Number 1. From paradise to a nightmare with no way out. You came to Florida searching for peace. Maybe you were a teacher, a veteran, a postal worker. You sold your home in the Midwest, left behind frozen winters, and arrived under the sunshine with a plan to finally rest. But that plan never accounted for skyrocketing insurance premiums, rents rising faster than wages, and a vanishing middle-class housing market. Some now live in their vehicles, parked beneath palm trees, once symbols of escape, now quiet witnesses to economic struggle. I thought I had prepared enough, you whisper, but I was wrong. The world changed, and no one told me. This isn't some isolated tragedy. It's a pattern, playing out street by street. In the 1980s, places like Sarasota, Naples, and Fort Myers were havens for retirees of modest means. Today, they're transformed by luxury towers, golf resorts, and rising property taxes. Affordable housing pushed further out, or gone entirely. According to HUD, more than 31,000 Floridians lacked stable housing in early 2025, a 17% jump from just 5 years earlier. Based on demographic breakdowns from the National Alliance to End Homelessness, 2025, nearly 1 in 3 unhoused Floridians is over 55 years old. A typical Social Security check, often under $2,000, doesn't cover rent in cities like Miami, where average housing costs exceed $2,500 per month. A veteran named Mike put it plainly, "I served this country. I never thought I'd be 70 and unsure where to sleep." So now, ask yourself, if people like Mike, like you, are falling through the cracks, who's safe? This may not be a sudden collapse, but rather a slow erosion of economic stability already underway. Number 2. When the elderly no longer have a place in the American dream. What if everything you believed in, hard work, dignity, rest, simply vanished the moment you needed it most? You grew up trusting the promise, work hard, raise a family, pay your dues, and one day you'd earn a peaceful life, a small home, a porch to grow old on. But in today's America, that promise is breaking. In Florida, the state once crowned as the dreamland for retirement, older adults are being quietly pushed out, not because they failed, but because the system failed them. According to HUD's 2025 report, nearly 1 in 4 unhoused adults in Florida is over the age of 55. Yet shockingly, Florida's funding for senior-specific housing initiatives has dropped by nearly 18% since 2020, despite the rising need. That's not a future problem. It's now. It's real. It could be your neighbor. It could be your parent. Could one missed rent payment put you there? Could one medical bill be the thing that breaks you? Dolores, a 72-year-old woman from Naples, used to work at a beachfront hotel. Now, she lives in her car. "I gave this place My best years, she says. And now I sleep with the windows cracked and pray I'm invisible. It raises a critical question. How can we build a prosperous society if our seniors are left behind in such vulnerable conditions? If you're just joining us, this is RoamKind, where we uncover what most choose to ignore. And what we're about to reveal will challenge everything you thought retirement meant in America. Number 3. The City of Two Faces, Glamour and Dedream. You came to Miami for the beaches, the music, the golden light, but step just a few blocks inland and the postcard curls at the edges. This is a city of two faces. One side shines with rooftop pools, luxury cars, and billion-dollar events. The other side lives in shadows, families in alleys, veterans beneath bridges, and elders curled on cardboard behind cafes. In Miami-Dade County, more than 3,700 people lack stable housing. Over 850 of them sleep outdoors every night. Dr. Emily Haynes, a housing expert, puts it plainly: we're witnessing the price of neglect. High-end development races forward, while human shelter is left behind. You pass restaurants where dinner costs $500, while across the street, public restrooms remain locked to the unhoused. Law enforcement, they avoid certain zones after dark, not due to crime, but because those streets have quietly been surrendered. What does safety look like in a city where access to secure housing is increasingly tied to wealth? When you gaze at Miami's shimmering skyline, do you notice the woman your age sleeping under the overpass? Do you see the man who once wore a uniform, now crouched beneath a flickering street lamp? This isn't one city anymore, it's two, and one of them is slowly vanishing. Without protest, without policy, and without headlines. Number 4. Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville. From smiles to silence. At first glance, you see bright colors, smiling families, fireworks in the sky. That's what the brochures promise, right? But take one wrong turn off the highway, and suddenly you're in a different Florida. What if the place you always dreamed of growing old in was the very place pushing you out? Within short distance from major attractions, roadside encampments reveal a hidden crisis, and New Hampshire Street. According to the Florida Center's 2025 point-in-time count, near the theme parks, former hotel staff now pitch makeshift shelters out of sight. Many say they helped build the industry, but were left behind. You might be someone who spent your best years working in the industry that made this state shine. Hotels, restaurants, amusement parks, and now you're told there's no space left, no safety net, no affordable place to go. James, a 68-year-old former cook from Tampa, shares a similar story. I served families for years. Now, I can't afford a room of my own. It doesn't stop in Orlando. In Jacksonville, highway bridges offer the only shelter. In Tampa, Greyhound terminals have become homes for the forgotten. In St. Petersburg, the beach is no longer a place of peace, but a place where the elderly and sick camp beneath the stars with no help in sight. These aren't transients. They are Floridians, people who built these cities. Maybe they were once your neighbors. Maybe someday it could be you. A hot meal in a foam box, a tattered tarp tied to a tree. These aren't exceptional events. They're part of daily life for many. Just another night. So ask yourself, how long can a postcard keep selling paradise when the people who lived it are being erased from the picture? Leave your thoughts below. And if stories like this matter to you, follow RoamKind, because we believe that truth deserves a voice. Number 5. Social welfare and dangerous silence. You believed the system would catch you, especially in moments of need. But what happens when the very net you counted on starts to fray? Across Florida, safety nets built over generations are quietly giving way. According to the 2025 Federal Housing Budget Draft, OMB, March 2025, Section 8 funding faces a proposed 43% cut compared to FY 2022 levels. Demand has never been higher, but waitlists are frozen, offices overwhelmed, and resources vanishing. Joan Milligan, 68, from Fort Myers, applied for housing assistance in 2022. 2 years later, she's still waiting. Some nights, she stays with relatives. Other nights, a public park bench becomes her bed. "I don't want to be a burden," Joan says. "I just need a place to call home." You've heard this before. No one teaches you how to navigate paperwork at 70. But even if they did, who's there to help when your hands shake, your eyesight fades, and your internet won't load the page? This isn't just red tape, it's a silent wall. And every time someone gives up, it grows taller. In cities like Tampa, Orlando, and Miami, applications for assistance have been suspended indefinitely. No updates, no transparency, just silence. Ask yourself, if help doesn't arrive when you need it most, what happens next? If the line goes dead, if the office door stays closed, who will speak for you when it's your turn? This isn't just a policy failure. It's a quiet betrayal of trust. Number 6. No Man's Zone. The abandoned areas in the heart of Texas. You pass through parts of Texas every day that aren't on any map. Not because they don't exist, but because they were never acknowledged. Between the glimmering skylines and massive stadiums, there are spaces where even law enforcement steps back. Some call them no man's zones, though the people there are very much human, like you, with names, with stories, and the same need to be seen. If you've lost your ID, address, or paperwork, then you've felt it. That silent retreat from the system. No documents, no rent, no healthcare, no help. You go unrecognized. Martin, who now sleeps under an overpass east of Austin, told us, "I was robbed twice. I called for help. They said it wasn't their area." It's not fear that keeps support away. It's a sense of futility. In these areas, what once came from public services is now held together by community resilience. A former Marine runs a food line each evening. A retired teacher tutors children from nearby tents. They've stepped in because the systems that used to arrive no longer do. Then the city trucks come. A cleanup. Tents vanish. People are swept away without warning. Raina, 27, hasn't had a stable place to sleep since one of those city operations. She said softly, "They removed everything without a trace, but no one told us where we were supposed to go." This is not disorder. It's neglect by the system. In 2025, even as budgets for urban development expand, there remains no consistent framework to assist or register residents without formal housing. Without data, policies don't follow. And without an address, you're easy to overlook. You may do everything right and still end up forgotten. So the question becomes, if you're slowly pushed aside, who will even know you're missing? The answer isn't sympathy, it's recognition. You don't need rescue, you need to be seen. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to redraw the map with your story on it. Number 7. When real estate speculation pushes people dead end. Drive 10 minutes from Disney's Sparkle, and the fairy tale dissolves. Under bridges, behind drugstores, tents rustle in the wind where families once vacationed. In Orlando, once your family's vacation dream, seniors now sleep in tents along Interstate 4 and New Hampshire Street. According to the 2025 Homeless Services Network, 1 in every 4 unhoused individuals here is older than 55. Many worked where your memories were made. You could meet Gloria, 69, a former hotel housekeeper. Now, her car is home. I used to turn down beds for smiling families. Now I fold my own blanket in the back seat, hoping for quiet. This isn't a story of outsiders. It's your neighbors, your former waitress, maybe your aunt. In Tampa, bus terminals shelter those without keys. St. Petersburg's beaches, once your escape, are now survival ground for the frail. In Jacksonville, bridges hold blankets, not dreams. More than 2,700 people in Orlando alone are unhoused. Over half sleep outside. And across the country, according to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, nearly 50% of older adults experiencing homelessness remain unsheltered. The sunshine dream isn't gone. It's been priced out, pushed out, left unheard. And here's the truth. Florida's social fabric has faced gradual strain over time, not in screams, but in silence. Not by catastrophe, but by inaffordable rent, stagnant wages, and systems too slow to care. You pass the tents, you see them. Do you ever stop? Ask yourself, is this the Florida you once believed in? Because unravelings don't always crash. Sometimes they creep until they reach your street. While the challenges are undeniable, several local nonprofits and city councils have initiated housing-first models and mental health programs aiming to provide support. Number 8. The richest state, but widespread poverty. When you think of Florida, you probably picture wealth, palm trees, and endless sunshine. But if you look closer, you'll find a painful contradiction. Right here in one of America's richest states, a devastating poverty and homelessness crisis is unfolding all around you. Did you know that according to the 2025 Florida Hunger Map, compiled by Feeding America, 1 in 6 adults in Central Florida experiences food insecurity? And if you're a senior, the odds are just as alarming. 1 in 7 people over 60 is now forced to choose between medicine, rent, or food. Can you imagine being in that position? Feeding Florida's 2025 annual report states that approximately 950,000 meals were lost from food distribution programs following the expiration of pandemic-era benefits. Now, it's common to see lines stretching through Walmart or Costco parking lots, not for shopping, but for a warm meal. Food banks are struggling to keep up. If you volunteered today, would you see enough supplies to help the next family? Even more heartbreaking, the USDA's Household Food Security Report 2024 notes that approximately 20% of children in Florida live in food-insecure households. While some kids plan summer vacations, others are simply hoping for a slice of bread. You may never have thought of hot meals as a privilege, but for many, it's exactly that. And it doesn't stop with food. Your power bill might have jumped too. In 2025, Florida Power and Light raised average rates by 10%. For thousands of families, especially retirees, it's now a choice between lights or groceries. You live in the Sunshine State, but ask yourself, is it really shining for everyone? From the outside, Florida still looks like paradise. But when your neighbor is skipping meals, or your child's classmate comes to school hungry, the truth gets harder to ignore. So here's the question. Have you seen this crisis where you live? Are we prepared for what comes next? Share your story. You might be the voice someone else needs to hear. Number 9. The reef policy system cracks. Florida was meant to be a model of sunshine, freedom, opportunity. But look closely, and the cracks run deep. Take the Sadowski Fund, designed to create affordable housing. According to investigative reporting by local housing advocates, in 2025, only 58% of the Sadowski Fund's intended budget actually went to housing programs, with the rest redirected elsewhere. Source: Florida Housing Coalition Report, 2025. The rest, quietly redirected, lost to other interests, and then comes the image management. Before high-profile events like Art Basel in Miami or the Super Bowl in Tampa, encampments vanish overnight. No explanation, no relocation, just erasure. One man in St. Petersburg put it plainly: by morning, it was like we never existed. But they do still exist, just beyond the cameras, beyond the red carpets. You'll hear that Florida is booming. More jobs, more tourism, more investment. What you won't hear is what's missing. No rent control, no long-term housing strategy, and no modern safety net for the working poor. And let's be honest, you might feel safe right now, but experts warn what's happening here may soon mirror the rest of the country. This isn't just about numbers, it's about lives, quietly displaced while no one is watching. So ask yourself, if this could happen in Florida, what's stopping it from happening in your state next? Number 10. A failed model is spreading across America. Look around Florida today. Under bridges and behind shopping malls, makeshift shelters are becoming more common. You might drive past them, but for many people, that little tent represents the last bit of privacy and dignity they have. You've seen homes sitting empty, not because of a hurricane, but because insurance costs are getting too expensive to bear. According to the Insurance Information Institute, as of the year 2023, the average homeowner in Florida is facing more than a 40% increase in insurance premiums. You might be wondering, how much longer can I keep up? Some people stay, not by choice, but because they simply have no other option. Others leave, not just because they've lost their belongings, but because they've lost something deeper, a connection to place, to identity. "I'm not afraid of losing my stuff," said Luis Santiago, a former electrician in Orlando. "I'm afraid of not having a place to belong." Florida's challenges may reflect broader national trends, offering important lessons for other states addressing housing insecurity. What's happening here is quietly being repeated across America. Here are the numbers. In California, more than 180,000 people are experiencing homelessness. In New York, thousands of working families are now living in temporary housing. In Texas, rising living costs are forcing people to leave the cities they helped build. And yet, there are no major headlines, no breaking news alerts, just a growing silence, as more families quietly slip through the cracks. And what about today? Maybe you feel secure in the middle class, but is middle-class security more fragile than we assume? One illness, one layoff, one surprise bill. That's all it takes, and everything can change. The American dream isn't dead, but for many, it's becoming harder and harder to reach. Sure, you could move in with family, you could try to cut back, but what if your family is struggling too? What if they don't have a place either? Would you know where to go? Probably not, because once you're out of the system, once you've lost your job, your home, your safety net, there's no clear map back. That's the quiet truth for thousands of people you pass every day. And maybe, just maybe, it's a little closer to you than you think. Florida's crisis isn't just local. It's a reflection of what's happening across the country. When working families sleep in cars and the elderly are left with nowhere to go, we must ask, what kind of future are we building? This isn't about blame. It's about understanding. If this story moved you, share it. Leave a comment below. Have you observed similar challenges in your area? Let's open the conversation together. Subscribe to RoamKind, because truth deserves a voice. Thank you for watching. See you next time. This documentary is based on publicly available data and personal stories. It does not intend to generalize all of Florida, but to highlight growing concerns for policy dialogue.